distant street lamps across the Seine were ornamented with ironic halos by the rain. The barges and water taxis were few this night. James found his way down the final steps to the esplanade more by feel than by sight, and tapped his way slowly beyond them like a blind man with a cane. Somewhere seemingly very far above, the usually distinctly pronounced sounds of carriage wheels and horses' hooves were muffled and made more distant, almost less real by the worsening rain and deeply puddled thoroughfares. James could sense and hear and smell the river's imminence, rather than see it in the near total darkness. Only the rather shocking emptiness of the point of his umbrella suddenly finding empty space ahead brought him to a stop at the edge of what he knew to be the short, curved promontory. There were no steps going down to the river here, he knew, only a 6 or 7 foot drop to the swirling black waters. The Seine ran fast and deep and wicked here. Now he could take one step forward into emptiness, and it would be done. James removed the small snuff box from his inner pocket and stood running his fingers across it for a moment. The motion made him remember a squib in the Times the previous year that claimed that the Eskimo of the Arctic made no artwork to view, but shaped certain smooth stones to enjoy by touch during their many months of northern night. This thought made James smile. He felt he had spent enough of his own months in the northern night. When he'd purloined a few pinches of his sister's ashes the previous year, Catherine Loring waiting just outside the door at the crematorium where she'd come to claim the urn she would take back to Cambridge and the James's corner of the cemetery there, it had been with the sincere plan of spreading them at the place his younger sister had been most happy. But as the months passed, James had realized the impossibility of that idiot's mission. Where? He remembered her brittle happiness when they were both much younger and had traveled in Switzerland with their Aunt Kate, a lady as literal as Hamlet's by-the-card gravedigger. Alice's already pronounced penchant for hysterical illnesses had receded somewhat during those weeks free from her larger family and American home, and his first thought for his 50th birthday was to travel to Geneva and spread her ashes where he and she had laughed and matched wits, with poor Aunt Kate understanding none of their ironic wordplay, happily teasing each other and Aunt Kate as they walked the formal gardens and lakeside promenades. But in the end, Geneva did not feel right to James. Alice had been play-acting her recovery from her destined life of invalidism during that trip, just as he had been play-acting his collusion with her brittle high spirits. The point of land near Newport, then, where she'd built her little house and lived in apparent health and happiness for a year or so. No, that had been her early days with Miss Loring, and James felt more grimly in every month that had passed since Alice's death, Miss Catherine P. Loring had had enough time and way with his sister. Not Newport. So in the end, he could think of no place to spread these few pitiful ashes where Alice had truly been happy. Perhaps she had glimpsed happiness, never really seized it, only during those months or years in Newport and then Cambridge, before what she called that terrible summer when her oldest brother William and Alice Gibbons were married on July 10th, 1878. For years, William, her father, her brother Harry, brothers Bob and Wilkie, and an endless succession of visitors to their homes had kept up the joke that William would marry her, Alice James. Alice had always acted irritated at the running joke, but now, after her years of self-imposed invalidism and death, Henry James realized that she'd begun to believe in that marriage to William, and had been all but destroyed when he married someone else. And someone else named, with cruel irony, Alice. As she'd once put it to Henry James, that summer of William's marriage had been when she went down to the deep sea, and the dark waves clouded over her. So now, this night, this final night, James decided that he would merely hold tight to the snuff box with its remnants of Alice's ashes as he stepped forward and fell into the black water and oblivion.